I just finished following Anna Bauer's play-by-play of the hearing in front of Judge Zinnes, where the DOJ has been asked, where the hell is Kilmar Abrego Garcia? Why have you not returned him to the United States from the torture prison in El Salvador? Before I get into how that proceeding went and what the judge has ultimately decided, I would like to remind every single person that there is no branch of government, there is no judge, there is no elected official, there's no bureaucrat that is going to save us. We should all know by now. Biden didn't save us. Merrick Garland didn't save us. Jack Smith didn't save us. Democrats in the House and the Senate definitely had no intention and no capability of saving us. There is no hero coming. As I said on November 6th, when at the time I was addressing the Delu Blues, there is no white knight that is riding in to rescue all of us. It is us, the American people, who must save ourselves. We have to get it in our heads and in our hearts that we are going to write our own future. We are not passively sitting by waiting for a rescue that will never come. We must liberate ourselves. With that being said, let's get into the hearing. If you don't follow Anna Bauer on BlueSky, please go follow her now. I just want to share a few key elements from her very long thread where she broke down in detail what happened in this hearing today. I also want to say, for every DOJ attorney who is willing to argue as to why they cannot return an innocent man from a gulag, any member of the DOJ who is willing to stand up and defend the behavior of the Trump regime, I look forward to the day that you face accountability and your bar card is pulled. You face justice for standing on the wrong side of history. Speaking of those attorneys, Drew Ensign, who represented the government in this matter before Judge Boasberg, argued today in front of Judge Zinnes. Keep in mind, SCOTUS ruled that the government must effectuate the return of innocent man Kilmar Abrego Garcia. DOJ was supposed to have a response by 9:30 this morning. They argued that the timeline was too short. They tried to push things off until next week, and the judge said no. The DOJ said that they would not comply with the judge's order because the deadline she set was impracticable. We then found out that the lawyer who sloppily e-submitted this reply, I guess, was not listed on the case and therefore should not have done so. We know this is Trump's decades-old strategy when it comes to legal cases, which is kick the can down the road. File for a continuance, show up in court and say why you don't have the information that you should be presenting and you need more time. This is a strategy that requires the legal system to play hardball and say, no, I'm tired of your excuses. So initially, it looked like the judge was going to play hardball. Contrary to what the government put in its briefing, there is no need for further briefing. Now, I need to know if the defendants are willing to answer my 3 questions I've asked. I want to go one by one. Let's start with number 1. Why did defendants not comply with the order and give me someone with personal knowledge about Mr. Abrego Garcia's current location and status? DOJ lawyer Ensign, we've said all we can say. Judge, what info do you have? Ensign, I do not have that info. So the government is going to go on record saying it has no info about this innocent man's whereabouts. After they paid to kidnap and rendition him to the gulag in El Salvador, they now are saying they don't know where he is. The lawyer says, I'm saying I don't have that info as an officer of the court. The clients have not provided that info to me as of today. The judge, it's quite basic information. I'm asking a very simple question. Where is he? DOJ lawyer Ensign, plaintiff has said he was last known to be in El Salvador. Government hasn't submitted evidence to contradict that. Judge, so there's no evidence where he is today. That is extremely troubling. Judge moves on to the next question. What steps has the government taken thus far to facilitate his return? Notes there was a period of several days in which her order to return him was in effect. What have the defendants done? The lawyer says he's not prepared to share that info. He's still evaluating what info he does have. Judge, okay, so they've done nothing? This is a yes or no question. This is a direct question that is yes or no. I'm not asking what yet, just was there anything done to facilitate his return? Lawyer, I'm unable to answer. Don't have knowledge of that. Judge, communicate this to your client. If they don't communicate any evidence to you as their representative that you can communicate to this court, then there is no evidence. Easy way to combat that is to communicate what they've done to you. If they can't, they need to put that in writing. Again, initially, judge looks like she's playing hardball. She's not taking their non-answers. She's not dealing with their bullshit. Ensign, the DOJ attorney, then uses the typical Trump strategy of saying, we can't get this yet. Maybe I could have some response for you by Tuesday. Then says there might be some invocation of privilege, but he doesn't know yet. He then pulls some bullshit where he tries to say that the deadline is no longer in effect, and that's what SCOTUS said. The judge says you now have a new amended order, which makes it clear that you must facilitate his return. The lawyer then says due regard for the executive means at a minimum you are required to hear from an executive in a written brief before any order could become effective again. The judge says, no, that's not right. Basically, we're not going to slow walk this, she says. We're not relitigating what SCOTUS has put to bed. Again, the strategy from the DOJ is this, like, the court needs to have deference and respect for the executive. They need to bow and they don't get to make demands on us. We get to set the timeline. Now, that's just not how the law works. DOJ lawyer tries more of this bullshit. The judge says, I disagree with you. Then we heard from Abrego Garcia's counsel, and they are saying that it's quite clear the defendants, meaning the DOJ, are playing a game with their own order. The court should order people with personal knowledge to appear before the court. The judge then goes on to say, I don't understand why my questions cannot be answered today, but maybe you can answer them for me by 5 p.m. tomorrow. DOJ lawyer Inson tries to say that they can't produce anything before the close of business on Monday. And the judge is like, no, I said I want a daily update. There are no office hours here. We are working on the weekend. The lawyer tries to say that these deadlines are impracticable. What's impracticable is that you're keeping an innocent man in a torture prison when you know you can return him. So this is what really gets me at the end of this and why I said what I said at the beginning of my video. Again, go follow Anna Bauer to read the entire thread of what happened. Also, I recommend following Kyle Cheney on BlueSky. And this is what really, really gets me. At the very end, where is the judge's hardball? Nobody has been held in contempt. Instead, the judge is requiring daily updates from the government on the 3 questions. Where is Abrego Garcia? What efforts has the DOJ previously taken to get him back? And what efforts will it make going forward? I don't understand why nobody is being held in contempt. And this is why I say that we cannot trust these branches of government, any judge, any elected official, any bureaucrat to save us. It seems that even when people act like they're playing hardball, they really still show some level of deference and are not willing to be as ruthless as is required to stand up against a bully. You may think I'm being too harsh against the judge, and I appreciate the fact that she is trying to uphold the rule of law. But for every day that goes by, an innocent man is in a torture prison, in a gulag in El Salvador. And I really appreciated this person reminding me and everybody else, while they're claiming that they can't get Kilmar back from a foreign nation, from El Salvador, even though our taxpayer dollars are what sent him there and are what are funding his incarceration. The Trump regime had no trouble swiftly negotiating the release and return to the United States of Andrew Tate and his brother. We all know this is political theater. We all know that this is the Trump regime trying to flex its authoritarian muscle, that they are playing a game of chicken with the courts and they intend to win. They don't want Abrego Garcia returned to the United States because then he can testify about what happened to him. They also don't want the courts to have any wins. They don't want the court dictating to a dictator that he must follow the law. Please understand that Kilmar is innocent. He was here legally. There was an order of protection that he not be returned to El Salvador. Marco Rubio, Kristi Noem, Pam Bondi, this Department of Justice, this regime knew he was innocent. They knew there was an order of protection that he not be sent to El Salvador, and they did it anyway. And they intend to disappear him there. They intend to lose him there and never bring him back. Please understand, if they will do that to him, they will do it to you. Please understand the severity of what is unfolding right now. And that ultimately, it's not going to be the courts that are going to stop this kind of behavior. By behavior, I mean egregious human rights violations. Ultimately, it will be you and me and millions of Americans standing up for our rights. It is going to take mass public pressure. We will save ourselves, but we have got to get to work doing it. April 5th was the beginning of that good and necessary work. There are going to be more events, April 19th, Earth Day, May Day. We don't have to turn out in the same numbers to every single event, but we need the constant pressure on everybody, from this regime to corporations to electeds to our neighbors to our fellow Americans. Everybody needs to see how big the resistance is and that it is only growing, and that we need justice for Kilmar and for every American citizen. It's not just this man's rights that are on the line. They come for one of us, they're coming for all of us. And we must defend democracy and the rule of law.